If you're new here, my name is Kate. I am a mom of a 5.5-month-old baby girl named Lincoln, and I do a lifestyle, nerdy home living and parenting channel. If you have been here before, welcome back. So glad to have you with me. Today we are going to do something I'm super excited about, which is a ultimate Q&A. So I thought this would be a really fun way for everyone to get to know me, where my channel is relatively new. I just thought it would be super fun, so I sourced some questions online from a couple of different blog posts, and we're just going to see how many we can get through. I will be looking this way throughout the video because my questions are on a monitor over there. So just so you know, when I'm looking over there, that's what I'm doing. Let's get started. Question 1. What is your first name, and if you had to change it, what would you change it to? So my first name is Caitlin. I go by Kate, but my first name is Caitlin. If I had to change it, I would go something gender neutral, just because as a writer, sometimes clients don't necessarily want a female's name if it's a male clientele, or they don't want a male name if it's a female clientele. So if I had something gender neutral, I think I could get my name on more of my pieces and I would have to ghostwrite less. Chris and Alex are coming to mind, neither of which are available because it's people in my family. Riley, maybe, would be a good name. Elliot, I don't know. But something gender neutral. I'd have to think about that longer. What would your parents have named you if you were the opposite gender? My mom told me once that she would have named me Brandon, so Brandon, I think, was my boy name. Who did you look up to when you were growing up? Was definitely any author I could get near or read about. J.K. Rowling was the big one. Obviously, Amy McDonald visited my elementary school class once. She wrote No More Nice and No More Nasty, and I idolized her for like 2 weeks afterwards because I got to meet her. So that was exciting, but really just any writer. What has required the most courage in your life so far? And I would say that was leaving my steady 9-to-5 job to decide to be a freelance writer. What's the most important thing in your life? Definitely my daughter. Who's your favorite actor? Neil Patrick Harris comes to mind. He's very, very talented. He can do so many things. I have a lot of favorite actors, but I'm going to go with Neil Patrick Harris. Who's your favorite actress? Lauren Graham, for sure. What's your favorite drink? Non-alcoholic, my favorite drink would be iced tea, or chai maybe. Alcoholic, my favorite drink is this thing called Kringle, which we mix with chocolate soy milk. And that actually, I'll see if I can put a picture in there, but at our wedding, we had a Harry Potter wedding, and we made a potion in the middle of the ceremony, and it was Kringle and chocolate milk for anyone who was there and was curious. What's your favorite food? It used to be chicken pot pie. We have stopped eating meat, so if I can find a vegetarian chicken pot pie recipe, that will be my new favorite food. I have not found one yet that I like. What's your favorite quote? I have 2. My first favorite quote is, "Done is better than perfect," and that is my quote as a mother. So, dishes washed and set on the sink on the side is better than washed and put away if that's going to take me 3 times longer. Laundry at least washed is better than dirty laundry. So just done is better than perfect. And then my other one is, and I don't know where this comes from, but I do have it like on a Post-it note, and it's, "On the roughest days when I think I can't endure, I like to remind myself that my track record for getting through rough days is 100%, and that's pretty good." And I went through a depression in college, and that was one of the quotes that I used to help me get out of it and work my way through it when I was working with a therapist. So that's a really important one to me as well. How many languages can you speak? 1 fluently. I'm fluent in English. I took 5 years of Spanish in high school and can speak very little of it. I took a year of sign language in college, and I can do more of that, but I definitely am not fluent. I can have a conversation with someone who knows ASL if they're going very, very slow for me, but I can't keep up. You know, we've watched shows where people are speaking ASL on TV, and I can't keep up with that. It's too fast, and I didn't get enough of it in school. When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up? I've always wanted to be a writer my whole life. My mom told me that I needed a way to pay the bills while I was writing, so that changed a couple of different times. At one point I wanted to be an editor, at one point I wanted to be a teacher, at one point I wanted to be a psychologist, so that's changed a few different times. But I've definitely always wanted to be a writer of some sort. Walmart, Target, or Kmart? Definitely Target. I don't even know if we have a Kmart around here, and Walmart, the aisles are too claustrophobic for me, but I like Target a lot. We spend a lot of time there. Did you ever take dance lessons? I did. I definitely took tap when I was little. I think I might have taken ballet as well. But we're talking pre-elementary school little. I don't really remember it. I remember tap shoes. Have you ever cried before because you were so happy? Yes, the day my daughter was born, I was a ball of tears. I think I've cried because I was happy a couple of other times, but that's the one that sticks out, is just really happy tears. Can you knit or crochet? My stepmom is very good at both, and she has taught me both. I don't remember knitting at all. I can crochet like a straight line in rows, so I could crochet like a scarf, maybe a blanket, but not a good, pretty, cool one, just like a nice straight one. What's your favorite physical activity? I don't do a lot of physical activities, but I actually like swimming. I don't like being cold, so I'm very picky about how warm the water has to be to swim, so I don't do a lot of it, especially in Maine, but I like swimming. I find it very relaxing. It's very easy on my joints. What's your favorite social media channel? It used to be Trish Chic Mama, and sometimes she's still at the top, but her kid's a little bit older than mine, and she does a lot of like beauty videos, which I'm not into, clearly. I also really like This Gathered Nest. I definitely will never have that many kids. My husband's happy with one, but I love the idea of a large family. I love the idea of homeschooling. It's not in the cards for our family, either of those things, but I love watching that and thinking about that and thinking about the philosophies behind large families and homeschooling and things like that. Do you have any tattoos? No, I don't. I have thought about getting one. My husband and I have thought about getting tattoos to commemorate our daughter. I think we're going to wait and see if we are in fact done with one child, or if we're going to have more before we get a tattoo or a couple of tattoos to commemorate that. Who was your first celebrity crush? David Xanatos from Gargoyles is the first crush I remember. He's not a celebrity, he's a character. He's a cartoon character. I might put a picture of him over here. He's the first one I remember. Luke Danes, also not a celebrity, also a character, though live action. And then I think I started crushing on like Lauren Graham and Mark Harmon simultaneously. Those ones are actually celebrities. So I guess Lauren Graham and Mark Harmon are my first celebrity crushes. I don't know who came first. What's at the top of your bucket list? I guess, top like most exciting or top like most likely to do it? Comic-Con. We're gonna go with Comic-Con because I'm most likely to do it. It's on my bucket list and we're doing it this year. So we want to go to the Massachusetts Comic-Con. What was the name of your first pet? My first pet was Simba. It was a cat and it was mean. It was awful. It was an awful, awful cat named Simba. How difficult is it for you to forgive someone who refuses to apologize? Okay, it's difficult for me to forgive someone who has apologized. I hold a grudge. It's bad. It's something that I'm working on, especially with the people close to me. But it is almost impossible for me to forgive someone who can't admit they did something wrong. How old were you when you first learned how to ride a bike? I don't remember learning how to ride a bike so young, I guess. I definitely could ride a bike when we moved to Brunswick, so I definitely could ride a bike by the age of 6. But I don't know when I learned. I don't know if at 4 or 5, something like that, probably. What is under your bed? Nothing. My bed is on the floor. Our bed frame broke when we were doing the house move around. I wrote about that in my blog. I'll link that below. But my bed frame broke when we were doing that, so we don't have a bed frame right now. We're saving up for a new one. And in the meantime, my bed's on the floor, so there is carpet underneath it. What is on the walls of the room you're in? Back there, you can see a little heart that says, "And they lived happily ever after." Behind me, there's a My Neighbor Totoro clock and a Monkey D. Luffy straw hat. And then I'll flip you so you can see we've got a couple dragons holding a sword up there. I don't actually know if you can see that. And then a sign my brother gave me that says, "You are the author of your own life story, so make it a good one." And a map with my master's diploma on it. And then a Smith Carter street sign picture that my aunt gave us for when we got married. Where were you on Valentine's Day? I was at my mother's house. My mom and stepdad do this thing for us every year for Valentine's Day that's really, really special, where they make a special dinner for my husband and I and for my brother and his wife. And we have this nice my parents serve us dinner and do this really fun thing for Valentine's Day. This year they did like a series of riddles for us throughout dinner, and it's just this really nice tradition they started a few years ago. They started it back, I don't know if this is why they started it, but they started it a year that Ken and I couldn't afford to do anything for each other for Valentine's Day. And they had asked what we were doing, and I said we couldn't afford anything. We decided to forego celebrating Valentine's that year. And then a couple weeks later, they were like, "Hey, you should come to our house. We'll do something nice for you." And they invited my brother as well, and they've been doing it since then. I don't know if I'm the catalyst for that. Like, I don't know if that's why they did it, or if they'd already had that in mind, and then we're checking to see what we already had planned. But that's when it started, was a few years ago, on a year that Ken and I were not going to be able to afford anything for Valentine's Day, so that was really, really nice. Are you a morning person or a night owl? I consider myself a night owl, but since Lincoln was born, I've been obviously getting up earlier, which means I'm going to bed earlier as well. But as far as what I like night better. I wake up very grumpy, so I'm gonna say night owl. What's the first book you remember reading? Boxcar Children? I'm gonna go with Boxcar Children. I don't know. I've been reading for a long time, but that's the first series I remember getting, like, into. Like, I'm sure I read Hop on Pop or whatever when I was younger than that, but I remember being really into the Boxcar Children series before I got into Harry Potter, which was my big obsession as a kid, and I remember making my dad get me, like, all the Boxcar Children books. So I'm gonna say that one. What kind of books do you like to read? A lot. I like fantasy, I like young adult, I like science fiction, I like self-help books and parenting books. It's more like I don't read horror, and I don't often read mystery, I would say, are the ones that I avoid. And I don't read, like, Harlequin romances. I don't care about that. But I read most of the other genres occasionally. What's the last book you read? ABC 3PO, which is a ABC book, Star Wars ABC book that I read with my daughter last night. What are you currently reading? I'm currently between books. The last book I read for myself was a parenting book called No Bad Kids by Angela Lansbury, something like that. That's the last one I read. I'm between books and kind of searching for my next read, so I guess if you have any suggestions on books I should be reading, post those in the comments below, or if comments are disabled, post them on my Instagram page. I'll link that below too. What's the last movie you saw in theaters? my mom took Lincoln Sunday night. So my husband and I went to see Us in theaters on Sunday. And it was so frustrating. It was so good for like the first huge chunk. And then the last like 10-15 minutes completely ruined the whole movie for us. And like it was tense and scary for the big chunk. And then at the end of it, it was like midnight when we left the theater. And I walked to my car without being any amount of scared. Just walked to the car because the ending ruined it so badly. I mean, obviously that's just my opinion. I'm sure some people loved the ending. It made no sense, guys. The ending made no sense, and it made the movie not make sense, and I didn't like it. What's the last thing you watched on TV? We finished season 2 of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina last night, so that's the last thing I watched on TV. What's the strangest thing you believed as a child? God, I was a weird kid, guys. I was like I had imaginary friends. I was a weird kid. I have no idea. I believed that when you see a plane go by and there's that little thing of smoke behind them, I believed that that was God unzipping the sky to let the angels in. So that's like a cute little kid thing to believe in. I have no idea. I believed a lot of weird, dumb things when I was a kid. What male celebrity do you wish was your brother? Guys, I have so many brothers already. I have 3. I have 3 brothers already. That's plenty. No one needs more than 3 brothers. Neil Patrick Harris again. He's funny, so that would probably be nice. And being rich doesn't hurt, but like, I wouldn't expect him to give me money. So, yeah, Neil Patrick Harris, I guess. Because he'd be sort of the right age, too, if he was one of the older ones. I don't know. I like my family. When you were naming your daughter, what are some of the other girl names on your list that you didn't choose? So our first name for Lincoln, before we went with Lincoln, was Persephone. And my family hated it, and Ken's family hated it. And ultimately, that's why we didn't choose it, was because we didn't want them making fun of her name her whole life. But we loved that name. I wanted to call her Percy, and I still really like that name. I think it's beautiful. So anyone who's naming their daughter Persephone, give this video a thumbs up because I love that name. We also talked about Finley or Eloise. I actually thought about naming her Finley Eloise and then calling her Effie. So those were some of the ones we didn't use for a girl. And then what were some boy names on your list? Officially, Lincoln's boy name was Logan. So if Lincoln was a boy, her name was going to be Logan. We also talked about Atticus, was one that I was really gunning for a boy for a while. Ken was never sold on it. And I really liked Iggy, like as a nickname, Iggy. But the only thing we could think of it being short for was Ignatius, and I wasn't sold on that. So, what do you do for a living? I am a freelance writer, so I write for a living. What is the longest period of time you've spent in a hospital? About a week. And it was when Lincoln was born. We went in like 1 o'clock on a Wednesday morning, and then I had her 7 o'clock on a Friday morning, and then they released us on Monday. So it was like almost a week in the hospital, and it was awful. I mean, having a baby was great, but being in a hospital for a week is just exhausting. It just is. What's one way that you're glad you're like your dad? My dad is a very smart man, and I am glad that I get some of my brains from him. I don't think I'm quite as smart as my dad, but I would consider myself smart, and I get that from my dad. What's one way that you're glad you're like your mom? My mom is very strong-willed, and she really fights for what she believes in, and I have that trait as well. So I think that's a trait to be proud of. If you became a multi-millionaire overnight, what would you buy? Nothing extravagant. And I mean, I know a lot of people are like, oh, I'm happy, but like, I'm actually happy with my life. I'm actually happy with what we have. We would probably build a house that's in slightly better shape. We bought a 120-year-old starter house that needs a little bit of TLC. So we'd probably build a house that needs less from us. and buy a new safe car with a little more legroom in it, because the car seat pushes my seat up, and so I don't get a lot of legroom. So I would like, you know, a car with a little more legroom, a house that I don't have to do any work to, maybe a housekeeper, and then I'd be done. And then I'd put money aside for Lincoln for college and let Ken quit his job so he can come hang out with us. That's what we do with it. If you could go anywhere in the world on vacation, where would you go? I like Disney. London. Actually, I want to go overseas. I want to do like London, Venice, maybe Italy. I mean, Venice is in Italy, maybe Rome. Maybe Scotland, maybe Ireland. I want to do something in Europe. So I guess if I could go anywhere in the world where that's a more extravagant trip, I would go there. Would you want to live with your child when you're older? Like, I assume like old. And I'm gonna go with no. I think, for her sake, I think that living with your parents stifles your independence and your freedom, your ability to be who you want to be and make your own decisions. And even if you're, you know, much older and then you live with your parents, you know, because they're older and they come to live with you, I just think it's very hard not to get back into the parent-child mindset from when you were younger, and I don't think that's healthy for the relationship when you're an adult. I'm sure some people make it work and that's great, but from what I've seen, people who live with their adult parents tend to have a less healthy parent-child-adult relationship because they fall back on old habits from when they were younger. And for her sake, I would say I'd rather she put me in a home if I get to that point. How would you describe your child in 3 words? I'm gonna go with she's strong, she's patient, and she's determined, depending on the circumstances. So she can be very patient, but when she wants something, man, she wants it. What are 3 ways your marriage changed once you became parents? It's definitely gotten stronger. Our marriage has gotten a lot stronger now that we're parents. I would say 3 ways in specific. We work as a team more often now. Ken and I have always been like best friends who live together, and we love each other, but we've always been best friends who live together, and so we've always had very independent lives. We come together when we want to. We do separate things when we want to. Being parents together has forced us to do a lot more teamwork, a lot more working together to get things done around the house and with our child and stuff like that. It has, I'm going to say, we spend more time communicating our values with each other. So we spend more time talking about like, okay, this is a value we want to instill in our daughter and how are we going to work towards that, which are just conversations that didn't come up before. So we're talking about the deep issues a lot more frequently now, which I think is very healthy for a relationship. And then we appreciate alone time with each other more. So, you know, we appreciate time that our parents take our daughter and we can actually have alone time. We appreciate those times more. Whereas before, because we had alone time together all the time, we squandered a great deal of it. And I don't regret that. I mean, we also, like I said, we're very independent people, and I think we need our own activities as well, but we do spend more time being like, oh, okay, we have an evening together, what are we doing together with that evening? And those are conversations, again, that we didn't need to have as often before. What was your favorite food while pregnant? Milk is a beverage, not a food, but milk, man. My favorite food was imitation crab meat. I ate so much more of it than I should have, especially considering I was pregnant. But I could not keep a thing down while pregnant except for blueberries, milk, and imitation crab meat. So I ate a lot of imitation crab meat. And how did your husband react when your daughter was born? And this is going to be my final question. I think it's a really beautiful one to end on. When our daughter was born, we had a C-section. And so I was laying there and there was the curtain up so I couldn't see her. And she came out and they didn't announce that she had come out, and I didn't know that she had came out. I didn't know that she'd been pulled into the world. But I looked over and Ken started crying. And Ken, if you know him, doesn't cry about anything. He's very like, he's like a flat affect. I mean, he laughs really easily, but he doesn't cry about anything, and he started crying, and then I heard her cry, and it was just the most beautiful moment in my life. I will never forget it. And he had said he didn't want to see a thing with our daughter being born, and he was like on tiptoes looking over the curtain and then started crying, and then I heard her cry, and it was just beautiful. It was this beautiful, beautiful moment that I will treasure forever. So, yeah, so that's going to end it for my ultimate Q&A video. I hope you enjoyed this. If you want to see more videos like this, hit the like button, and if you like my channel, you want to see more about me and my lifestyle, I do some cleaning videos, I do lifestyle videos, I do baby activity videos and videos with my daughter. So if you want to see more of that, hit the subscribe button, and I will link my Instagram below, which is where you can comment if comments get disabled on this. I know they're disabling comments on a lot of parenting channels. So thank you so much, and have a great day.